Yo. So, it's been a while since I did the part one of this episode. For those of you who are now listening, this is the part two. And I'm doing things that I'm grateful for, or things that I'm thankful for. And so, excuse me, as I've had a very long day, but I should probably say I'm also thankful for having a long day. Now, I did the first 12 things I was thankful for in the first episode, and that was just talking about the first thing was my parents still being alive. Second thing was my brother and sister-in-law still being alive. Third thing was my nephews. Fourth thing was Tasneem, who is my fiance and wife-to-be. My fifth thing was having a job, like a full job that pays all my bills, covers my rent, and my outgoings. Then the sixth thing I talk about was being healthy. Seventh thing was being able to communicate and speak English, or just generally communicate and have a working tongue. The eighth thing was living in London, predominantly West London, because best part of town. The ninth thing was being male. 10th thing was being black. 11th thing was being Islamic. And then the 12th thing was having friends. And so, or like having friends I could rely on who support me, support my dreams, support where I'm headed and where I'm going. And so this is part two of the episode where I talk about another 12 things. So this will be item number 13 to 24, technically, in the whole series. But I'm going to, actually no, I was going to say I'm going to talk about it like item 1 to 12 for the first thing, but I'm just going to start from the 13th thing. And for those of you who looked back or listened to my last episode, you know why I'm carrying on from here. For those of you who haven't listened back yet, I hope that you go back and listen to it before you listen to this episode. So let's carry on with things that I am grateful for. Episode 2. It's going to be a 3-part series, by the way, so this is the second one, so the next one will be the last one. But yeah, so item number 13 that I'm thankful for is being on Voices Radio. Being on Voices Radio has given me so much exposure to the industry. I've met many creative people. I've been able to meet other DJs, like-minded individuals, hobbyists, people who just get the world and see the world in the way that I do. It's also allowed me to get more DJ residencies, and I'll play at Makato, Ethica in Makato, in Elephant and Castle, South London. So that's come from Voices. And generally I'm just thankful for the fact that I haven't been kicked off yet, and I've been there just over 2 years. So they must be liking what I'm doing, and I must be doing something right. So that's item number 13 that I'm thankful for. I'm now going to talk about item number 14. Item number 14 is, like I said, having 2 DJ residencies. One of them coming from Voices Radio, which came about because they had a residency and they used Makato as a regular client. Had a couple of DJs that do it 4 Fridays every month. I got the 4th Friday. I got asked to come along and do it, and they loved my music, loved what I was playing. Next thing I know, they asked me to come back every 4th Friday of the month, and so I've been doing that for 6 months. Even though I'm taking a break now for the next 3 months, I won't be doing it. Something else I forgot to mention actually about being on Voices that I'm thankful for, which I really love, is that it's given me the opportunity to have a residency like this. And even though I had a residency before already, one of them has definitely come from Voices, so I'm thankful for that. The first residency that I ever got was in a place called Corner Shop in Shoreditch. Some of you may know of it. But my second residency is now Old Blue Last, which I actually had before I got the Makato residency. And so I'm very much thankful for the Old Blue Last residency because it's kept me on my feet, kept me on my toes. I kind of use it as my bread and butter and a place to practice so that people can see me play at other gigs. Or if someone needs to know what kind of music I play at or how I run a night and how I open format and how I control the crowd or how I read the room, they can come to my Old Blue Last residency. So those are two things that I'm thankful for, having two residencies, because it's hard enough getting one. And the DJs that listen to this will know what I mean. It's hard enough getting one. You know, you meet dodgy promoters, you meet clubs that don't have great sound systems, people who can't manage and expect you to promote just as much as DJ, even though they're only paying you to DJ. But yeah, I'm thankful that both residencies I have, whether it's in Ethica and Makato or the Old Blue Last, they've both been able to accommodate me very well. They pay me on time, they pay me always, not one missed payment, and the people are always friendly when I go there, even though I don't really drink anymore, I don't drink alcohol, but they always offer free drinks, and I always ask for lemonade and lime soda or lime cordial. So if you ever see me in a party, in a birthday, in a club, in a bar, at a wedding, at a bar mitzvah, wherever it is, always, and you ask me what drink I have, or you want to get me a drink and surprise me, it's a lemonade and lime cordial. And item number 15 is actually having listeners. So I've been on Voices now for 2 years, just over 2 years. And when I first started, you know, I would promote and tell people, oh, this is my show, and it was 2 to 3 a.m. And then they moved me and got me a breakfast show. I think when they realized I came in and did one studio show with one of the producers at the time was Lucia. And they gave me an ad hoc slot so I can come in the studio. And it was the first time I'd actually spoken on a microphone while I was DJing on radio, because normally I would just play the music and let them, you know, bang out the beats and shell it out for 2 hours or an hour. Actually, no, that's another thing I should mention. I would shell it out for 1 hour. And then when I did my ad hoc, I did 2 hours, and I did a lot of talking in between and interacted with the listeners, and that was really fun. And so Toby, who's one of the dads that runs the station, shout out Toby, he gave me a breakfast show because he thought I'd be really good at doing a breakfast show. Listened to my show, loved it, loved the music I played, loved the talking, loved the way I interacted with people. And then, you know, they gave me that, and they call it Voices Daybreak. I do 2 hours. It's from 9 to 11 a.m. And those are more of the scarce, or like the rare shows. They're like the breakfast shows, because they have a daybreak, which is Voices Daybreak is actually from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then nighttime is actually from 11 p.m. the night before to 7 a.m. And then the regular programming runs from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And so there's only there's like 3 or 4 of us who have breakfast shows, I think. Maria Hannon does another great breakfast show, and that's really great. I listen to that almost religiously when I get the chance. If I'm working and I don't get to lock in live, I tend to listen back on the Mixcloud and give her props where it's due and give her the credit. So I'm thankful that I started as someone who was a nighttime show, and then they gave me a breakfast show. But another thing I'm thankful about with Voices and actually having listeners and people who pay attention to the things that I do is that, it's that these people actually, not only do they listen to what I'm doing, but my work is also being recognized and supported. And so although I started as a nighttime resident, what actually happened was there was a time when there was a producer who couldn't make it in for the slot for the show. And Toby obviously put a message in the voice chat to ask, is there anyone available to do it today? You don't need to know anything. You don't need to really be a professional. You just need to press some buttons and it'll show me what I need to do. And I just took it on the whim and said, yeah, I'll show up. I don't know anything, but I'm willing to learn. And I think that can-do attitude kind of put, I was about to say sparkle in his eye, but I think the only person's eyes that I actually sparkle in is my fiance, even though she'll never admit it. But yeah, I think he saw someone with a can-do attitude, and gave me the shift. I did it, and they started asking for me back regularly. And before I knew it, I was there every month for 6 months. I produced, and even then, they didn't kick me off. I had the opportunity to actually stay, but I left because there was other things that at work I got a new role in my actual regular corporate job, and that allowed me. That meant that I didn't have much time to dedicate towards the producing. But same again, I was there all the time, loved it, met a lot of DJs, met a lot of people, taught me how to schedule, taught me how to program, taught me how to use Roadcaster, taught me how to program and schedule shows and make sure the quality of the mic is sounding right and the music is right. And I met another DJ, Dandy, and all of the MCs he would always bring. And it was a very good time, and it was amazing. And it was only 6 months ago now that I left that, and so I'm thankful for that. But yeah, all of that has basically introduced me to a new group of people and brought me listeners, so I love that. Item number 13, 14, 15, number 16 that I'm thankful for is all of the trials and the tribulations that led me to this point. Why am I thankful for that? I'll tell you exactly why. Because without those trials and those tribulations, I wouldn't have gotten to the point that I'm at now, where I always forget this word, but there's a part that we are living in now. I think it's hacienda, but I could be wrong. But basically, scientists refer to it as the hacienda period. And I could be saying that wrong, so if somebody knows, correct me. But we had like the Stone Age, the Ice Age. And in this part, over the past however many millions of years it's been, where the global temperature hasn't risen or dropped more than 5%, and more than 5 degrees, is what they call the hacienda. It's like the happy period where life is thriving and new species are being discovered and everything is surviving and living long, and there's a life cycle and all of that. That's how I feel about my life right now. Everything at work is great. Everything with my missus is great, mashallah. I'm on the trajectory to get married. I'm being recognized at work for the work that I also do outside of my job, which is like all the radio work and the podcasting and the DJing, and they actually incorporate that into my corporate job. And so I'm happy and lucky enough that I work with great people who see me for what I am and allow me to be what I need to be, and bring that into what I do every single day. So I'm thankful for that. And because I'm thankful for that, I have to be thankful for all of the trials and tribulations that I've gone through, because all of those trials and tribulations got me here. Whether it was a relationship I was in that didn't work out, a job that I had that didn't work out, a country I was in that didn't work out, any arguments or falling outs that I had with friends, and just generally, all the mishaps, whether I had money, whether I didn't have money, whether I had to move back into my parents, all of those things have led to exactly where I am now. And that's perfect. And I always tell people that I designed my life to be this way. I really feel like I designed my life to be this way. And I designed it I actually want to make a point, because a lot of people always say they want to be free and they want to be happy and they want to be, they want a life where they could just do everything. And that's not really realistic, because they're not getting specific. They just have a goal, but they don't have a plan or a strategy of how to get there. And so instead of saying that I just want to be happy, or I want to have a great life, or I want to be this, I started to design my life day by day. So I started to realize that, okay, what do I want to do at least, once a day? Or what do I want to do at least once a week? And then what do I want to do at least once a month? And so forth, once a year. And when you start designing it like that, you start to break down the hours a lot more. So I might say, okay, every single Monday I'm going to go fishing, for instance. And then every Tuesday I'm going to go to the gym. And every Wednesday I'm going to not eat meat. And every Thursday, for instance, I might say, I want to take my fiance out or have relationship time and couple time. And Friday I'll spend time with maybe family or something like that. And then Saturday I will work on my craft. So that's my DJing, my music, my production, my radio, my shows, my podcast, my admin, the invoices I need to send to clubs and all of that kind of stuff. And then Sunday I will rest, for instance. So when I designed my life in that way, I then decided that, okay, so that's what all of my weeks will look like. And then in a month, maybe I'll do that 3 weeks out of the 4 weeks, and 1 week out of the month I might just rest, so that to recuperate the energy that I need for the rest of the 3 weeks. And in that 4th week, that's when I'll spend time being a tourist and visiting different places in London maybe, and go to the theatre and go to the cinema and go go-karting or golf and experience something new and go swimming and all of these great things, right? And if I'm doing that, so I've designed my month in that way and always doing something new. And then in the middle of the year, I might spend 9 months, which is what I'm doing now actually, which is why I'm on a break from my 2 residencies. But I'll spend 9 months out of the year, or 6 months out of the year actually, DJing. And that's what I do in the summer between March and September. It's all DJing, all the gigs, all the parties, all the festivals, everything that I need to do, right? While I'm still doing those things, by the way, daily, like Monday going fishing or doing whatever, but I just balance it in between. And then the 3 months out of the year, out of that, the other 3 months of the year, I will just chill and I'll relax, take a look at my finances, try and look at how much money I've made or how much I've saved and put together, and draw out a plan of what I'm going to do or so forth. And then the other 3 months, I just like focus on work. You know, I work hard, I do overtime, and spend time with family and that kind of stuff. So I just kind of accentuate the things that I'm doing weekly, but I do it on a greater scale. So I might be like, let me go to Brighton, let me go to Newcastle, let me go to just places nearby, let me go to Cornwall, let me go to Scotland, let me go not far, not like I need to take a plane and go to Greece, no, anything that I can take myself to. Sorry. And because I'm lucky enough to drive, I can drive to these places, even if I'm just going for like a day, a weekend, or whatever it might be. So that then works out, that's then my 12 months in a year. And if I do that consecutively for 5 years or so, I put myself in a really great position where I've met loads of people, I've built friendships, I've cultivated relationships, and you know, I have put myself in the position that I need to be in. So that's how, to me, you end up building a life that you want, of building a dream life that you get fulfillment out of, you know. So I'm thankful I also have the brain to think about that, but I spoke about that in the first episode, so we're not going to dive into that too much. What I will talk about though, when I talk about my brain, is the 17th thing that I'm thankful for, which of course is having a conscience. I love the fact that I have a conscience, and like I think I'm capable of critical thinking, which most people are not, or some people maybe they just don't care about stuff like that too much. But I'm capable of critical thinking, which means I can reason with people, I can discuss things and articulate myself well to get what I need to get, and I can also understand and see things from other people's perspectives. Because I think part of the problems that we have in life today is everyone likes to point out to say this person's bad and I'm good, or I'm bad for this and that's good, where I just think it's not really black and white like that. There's a whole bunch of shady grey. And you know, on some level you gotta just understand that with life nothing is actually really good or bad, it's all perspective. And that's some of the thing that I use actually as well in my week that I didn't explain. A lot of the time at night before I sleep, that's when I tend to listen to podcasts and videos on YouTube just talking about religion and Buddhism and socialism and stoicism and all these different ways that people live, just so that I can gain some knowledge and get, you know, a real understanding of life. So I'm thankful for that I have the brain and the capability to do that, because not many people do. And that's obviously starts and goes back to me talking about being thankful for my health, you know. and the fact that I have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, a nose, 2 ears, hair. Like, I'm healthy, I'm living well, I'm enjoying everything, and so because of that, I'm capable of having a conscience when I do something bad or do something good. In my mind, I never feel too big to say sorry to anyone. I try not to make decisions based on my ego or my reputation, and I think of stuff more internally with my heart and my soul and my mind and my character, because character is more important than reputation. I read a long time ago that your reputation is what people think about you, and your character is what you actually are. So you should focus on improving your character as opposed to improving your reputation. And so, yeah. I have a friend called Adewale who actually is getting married in a couple of weeks. Shout out to him and his beautiful bride. And I'm thankful for him because I've known this guy since school. And I can hand on heart honestly say he is one of the last remaining friends from school that I have, that I'm able to keep in touch with, that listens to my stuff, supports it. And we have moments where, we may not speak or see each other I didn't see him for almost 2 years at one point, but we still meet up, and when we get the chance, and it's almost like no time has passed, and we catch up on things about life and where it's gone. And I have another friend like that I worked with called Benny, who, if she's listening to this, shout out Benny. But yeah, I have another friend called Benny who I worked with, and she's got 2 kids, and she's living her life, she's doing her thing, she's happy, and I'm grateful for having her in my life, because we do the same thing where we meet up at least once a year. Not on purpose. If we could, we'd probably meet up a little bit more often than that, but it's just that life gets in the way and stuff like that. But I see love in her. I can see how she loves her kids, how she loves her partner, how she loves her life, how she loves her family, the things that she prioritizes. And I'm thankful that I'm able to know someone like that to show me or give me that perspective of life as well. Because I know many people who do have kids, and a lot of the time they talk about how much they love their kids, but you see them stressed out and they're always like moaning and complaining about something. Whereas with her, she embodies what I think the true sense of a millennial mother could be or should be or can be. And so I'm thankful for her in my life because I get to see that perspective. But I'm also thankful for Adewale in the same sense that I see the perspective of what it's like to have what true love should be. I see that with my fiance all the time, obviously Tasneem, like I'm thankful for her. But yeah, I'm glad that I have somebody else to share that with, basically, because being happy in my relationship, you can almost only talk about your relationship to other people who are also happy in a relationship. Because if you talk to someone who isn't happy in a relationship, you might get the wrong piece of advice, and it will start to make you question your own relationship and wonder if you're living in la la land, and you doubt everything and mistrust your partner and so forth. So I'm glad that I have these 2 people in my life who embody, one embodies a type of love of family and 2 children, and they just go ahead and do their thing and no one's really involved in that. And the other type of love is another couple who don't have any kids, and it's just the 2 of them, and I can see both perspectives of what it really means to be engaged like that with each other, or cultivate or nurture a relationship like that, I should say. Now, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the next 6 things that I'm going to talk about are a bit more wider scope. It's not directed at my life completely or solely directly impacting my life, but it's the general round of things that have shaped my life, and it's part of society and part of the world and part of civilization. But I'm thankful for teachers. And I have another friend actually who is a teacher that I should shout her out, Samantha, who's a teacher. And I'm thankful that she stood in my life as well. And she's a teacher. And I don't know what is going on in school curriculums at the moment, or what it's like to be a teacher, or what it's like to be a student in a school, whether it's a public school or private school. But I'm thankful for teachers, because everything on some level that I've learned from someone who was a teacher, whether that's in a conventional term of being in school or in the education system, in uni, public school, private school, primary school, secondary school, boarding school, whatever it is, and I've been to all. Just to give you some perspective, in my lifetime, I've been to about 7 different schools, because I moved around a lot when we were younger, because of my dad's work. But yeah, I'm thankful for teachers, because teachers are the light of the community. I think if we focused more time actually honouring teachers in the way that we should, and giving them the props that they deserve, it can really highlight society. And I think the education system is done backwards. It's the wrong way around, where we are hiring teachers and telling them what to teach our kids, and someone has designed like a curriculum, when realistically I think teachers should be designing curriculums and telling the government what they think the future generation needs or to be learned. And that's my only problem with the education system. It's like, I'm thinking, are you teaching us this to dumb us down, or are you actually really allowing us to be ourselves, in the way that if someone has ADHD or something like that, or autism, they don't hone that skill. They sort of give you a pill to take and go to a hospital, and you talk to a psychiatrist or whatever it is, and you do these things, and they treat you almost like they can fall. It's easy to fall into the trap of treating you like a second-class citizen, when realistically, for all we know, that could be part of human evolution, you know? So I think teachers who teach art, like we have a perspective of teachers where it's like, oh, you know, someone who was teaching science ended up a teacher, or someone who's teaching music ended up a teacher because they didn't become a music star, or someone who's teaching business is there because they didn't make a great business or so. When realistically, it should be the people who are teachers, if they have the time, we should try to actually hire people who have worked in the field and are now able to give that knowledge. So most of the time, our teachers should actually be old. I think teachers should be more of a retirement plan, a retirement dream. But that being said, I'm thankful for every teacher that I've come across in my life, because all of my teachers have been supportive. Every single one of them. Every teacher from primary school, when I was doing art, they supported my art. When I was doing music around secondary school time, they supported my music. They put me in competitions, put me in talent shows. When I was in university, like my mentor, my tutor, Frank Millward, if you're listening, thank you. But he, in a class where, so to give you some perspective, I studied live art, which isn't a course that's happening anymore in Kingston University. But at the time, this course was designed by Frank Millward. And I was surrounded by a lot of fine artists. And I was only really the audio art or the musical composer in this class. Everyone else was doing art. And the thing about fine artists is, and people that I find work in the fashion industry, it's all very reputation based, and everyone is up their own asses and they think they're the best at what they do, and they shun and turn their noses up at anything they don't understand. And I experienced a lot of that at uni, looking back now. At the time I didn't realise what I was experiencing, but looking back now I experienced that. And I think it's because on some level there could have been people who were envious of me, or it could have just been they didn't understand it. And most of the time when people don't understand something, they either fear it or they shun it down and don't want anything to do with it and dismiss it. But Frank really allowed me to show off my musical skills, even if it was stuff he didn't understand or stuff he wasn't really in tune with. Because, you know, I'm from like a black African Nigerian background, and I was born there, and I was like 19. And this was a guy who was from Queensland, Australia, and was like in his 50s at the time. So it's like, you know, I don't know if he understood where I was coming from, but regardless, he told me to keep calm and carry on. And I admire him for that. And he did that on multiple occasions over the course of the 3 years. So that's great. So I'm thankful for Frank. But that's what I mean. That's an embodiment of every single teacher I've ever come across in my life. They've always been supportive. So I'm thankful for teachers. I mean, I'm also thankful for internet developers. I'm thankful for internet developers. I don't really have much to say on internet developers, but the people who develop stuff on the internet, because of them, we are able to get our content out. We're able to put music out. We're able to put videos out. We're able to make, before when you wanted to make an album, you would have to save up money and rent out a studio and record and have a mixer and an engineer. And if you wanted to be an artist and someone working on your brand, you had someone who was like a videographer, a cinematographer, you had someone who was in charge of marketing and branding, someone who was in charge of sales, and someone who was in charge of this. Now, the music industry, I'm not too deep into it. I'm like in the underground, in radio, in the background, doing podcasts and stuff. But that's because I'm very independent in what I do, apart from the fact that obviously I'm broadcast on Voices Radio. But everything else, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, I'm the one who's independently deciding to publish these podcasts on there. And that's thanks to all of these people who are high up in tech, and they are developers, people who code, internet developers. So without them, you have to think, even without a coder or an internet developer, I don't know if they actually like that term, but people who create websites. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even have things like social media, like Twitter, like Facebook, like Instagram. And although people talk about how bad it can be and how much attention it seeks and and how much it has an effect on our mental health, but without them, we wouldn't have the platform to showboat all of the work and the things that we do. So regardless of how bad it is on the psyche, I would like to thank internet developers. And if it ever gets too much, just turn it off, it's not their fault. That's like saying the person who created, alcohol is a bad person. Nah, they just put it there. You make the decision to pick up the bottle and drink it. So yeah, there's that. Of course, I'm going to move on to the 9th thing in this episode that I'm thankful for, which is actually the 21st out of the whole series since the first episode. But I'm also thankful for nurses and doctors. Without nurses and doctors, I wouldn't be born. I wouldn't be here to tell you this. Without nurses and doctors, we may not have survived the lockdown. Without nurses and doctors, we may not have our loved ones lived so long. I don't know when it first started, can you imagine when the first granddad or the first grandparent was made? I don't even know. Or the first great-grandparent. How many people get to be great-grandparents? But thanks to medicine getting better, and nurses and doctors and hospitals and people who strive to make the world a better place and keep us happy and healthy, we might reach a point one day in our life where it becomes part of the norm to have great-great-grandchildren because people are living longer. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. Thankful to those guys. Remember when lockdown was happening, COVID came around and we used to clap for the NHS at 8 o'clock every evening on, I think it was Mondays and Thursdays. I guess we stopped doing that because we all got busy with our life again and got back into work. But it was nice for a moment to acknowledge our heroes. And yeah, so nurses and doctors, shout out you. I've got here that I'm thankful for politicians, which is a little bit tricky to talk about right now because I don't care much for politicians because I don't rely on them to look after me. And I'm pretty sure someone somewhere out there, they can't all be bad. There's got to be some politicians who are out there for our better good, and maybe behind closed doors they're signing documents that allow us to live certain freedoms, Some of those politicians, before they became politicians, a lot of them were probably soldiers in an army somewhere, or in the Navy, or the RAF. So they fought for our freedoms at some point. So I think we should give them credit. And you don't really know, they always say don't mock a pain that you've never, don't mock a pain that you haven't endured, or don't mock something that you haven't carried as a burden. And I think politicians carry a lot of burdens. Obviously people talk about the privilege that it is to be a politician and get the money, and the MPs and this and that, and they don't tax havens and blah 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 blah. But the point is, it's easier to spread bad news than it is to spread good news. So I think we get lost in focusing on that instead of also looking at the good. You know, it's like, it's very easy for someone to say, oh, life is getting worse and these jobs are getting worse and we're getting terrible pay and cost of living, everything's going up, inflation, we can't buy a house and this and that. It's true, there are problems and they've always been problems. You know, they say, what's it called? Strong men create, no, it says, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men. And it just goes around in a cycle. But on some level, there has to be good. Otherwise, you just got to look for it. It's perspective. You just got to look for the good. So there has to be some good out there. So I'm pretty sure there's politicians that have made laws hundreds of years ago, even 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, that on some level I am benefiting from right now. So yeah, shout out the politicians as well. I don't think this is going to be an hour episode, by the way. I think it's going to be 45 minutes. It won't be that long because I'm getting close to the end of my list. There's only 2 more things I was going to talk about being thankful for. And that's chefs. I love chefs. I love chefs because I love food. Food is what I do everything for. I will spend £1 million on food if my bank account would allow it. Because food is what I do everything for. When you think about it, yes, it's nice to work and have a nice house and have a nice car and have something that, you know, is thrill-seeking in your life and have people in your life. But what do you do with all of those people when you meet? Think about it. You're either eating or drinking something. And that thing that you're eating or drinking has either been prepared by a chef, or it's been put together by a chef, or it's been thought of by a chef, or it's been invented by a chef. And it's all of this innovation that makes me love chefs. Because, you know, a chef somewhere created egg fried rice. They also created chicken nuggets. They also created burgers. They created pizzas. They created sushi. They created, you know, tapas, burritos, rice and stew. They created tofu. Like, all of these things were made by people of the culinary arts. So you have to be thankful to the chefs. And last but not least, I am thankful for architects. Architects, in a nutshell, design everything that we live in. They design everything that we work in. They design everything that we sleep in. They design, you know, plates, bowls, pots, pans, forks, knives, houses, cars, chairs, wardrobes, lampposts, gardens. Like, they design everything. Like, and not just the building, or they do the mathematics to make sure that the building is heavy enough to support the light bulbs and the books. Like, if someone's designing a library, think about this, right? If someone is designing a library, they don't just design the building. They design that the floor is heavy enough to hold a certain amount of people walking in that building. And they also have to account for the books in that building that are on desks and how much weight it can take. Then they also have to design how much weight the floor on one side, which will be the ceiling on the other side, can take while holding all of the light bulbs. You know what I mean? It's actually a lot of mathematical and scientific work. And they have to design it in a way that still looks beautiful to the eye so that we can, like, live in there. Like, imagine being in your house and you're in a room and you press a button and a light comes on. And behind your walls, there are loads of little copper wires that are connecting those two things together. And someone has designed a way to hide all of those copper wires behind the wall, that structure. And someone has designed a way for a pipe to go all the way from your toilet to the bottom of your flat, out to the sewage, out to the countryside or to the rivers somewhere. And someone else on the other side of that river has probably designed a way for that wastewater to go into a machine, and the machine will clean that water to then make it drinkable again. Like, it's mad. It's mad. And the whole world is like this. Same people design trains and buses and public transport, and you know what I mean? And the random tree that you see when you're walking on the road, and the bushes and a park and a garden, and where to put a bench, and like putting a bench in the right place to make sure, oh, someone has walked this far. Maybe someone walked half a mile, or they walked 1K, and so it makes sense to have a bench here. And they'll lay out and design how long that path should be, and how many benches can fit on that path, and how wide it needs to be to fit those many people on the curb, and how far away it needs to be from the road, and even the design of the road to fit the buses and 2 cars, a dual carriageway, a motorway. Like, listen, architects are the epitome of life. So yeah, those are the 12 things that I'm thankful for, in addition to the other 12 things I was thankful for. So altogether, that's 24. And in the last episode, we are going to do another 12 things, which will make it a total of the 3-part series of 36 things that I am thankful for. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This has been a little bit more about me and life and my surroundings and the things that I come across, whereas the first one was about like my family and the people around me. So I guess I'm just getting into, there is the things that affect me directly, and then the things that affect my life, as in the country or the neighborhood that I live in. And the next thing I will talk about, well, you just have to wait and see. But yeah, this has been Sadiq Bello. And I do call the show Everyday People still, but it's it's things that I'm thankful for. Special edition. All right. Bye.